Welcome to Ansible Fest 2021. I'm Katie Piccirilli, Director of Product Marketing for Ansible Automation at Red Hat. It's so amazing to be able to kick off another Fest year with such an incredible community. You know, at our first Ansible Fest in 2013, we were thrilled to have even 100 attendees who loved automation as much as we do, crammed into a hotel meeting room in San Francisco. Today, we have thousands of attendees making up such an amazing global community. So for everyone from the US to Brazil, to Japan and Germany, and everywhere in between, welcome. This year's Ansible Fest is going to be filled with exciting and some pretty significant announcements, demos, customer stories, keynotes, and so much more. And while I'd rather be standing in a room with all of you, I'm just happy to be here, even if I am on this giant stage all by myself.
Hey, Katie, you forgetting something?
Walter, you're here. Oh my gosh, this reminds me of when I actually was able to first meet you at Ansible Fest in, was it 2017?
Yes, absolutely, and you know I wouldn't miss this. I'm Walter Bentley, a senior manager here at Red Hat over the automation practice, and I'm so happy to be here. Even though we can't have Ansible Fest in a room filled with an enormous Ansible community quite yet, there's no way that I was going to let you do this alone this year. We have so much to talk about over the next 2 days.
Really do.
Besides, as we both know, automation isn't just about doing things faster and more efficiently. It's about freeing up teams to focus on innovation and ultimately about making connections. I couldn't leave you standing here alone by yourself to talk about connections.
Well, thanks, Walter. I appreciate it. It's so great to see you in person. It's been a long time.
It absolutely has.
But you're right. Automation really is about making connections, and not just about connecting one piece of technology to another. It's about making human connections. Connecting businesses that might have been working alone without it, connecting teams and helping them collaborate better, and connecting people with their lives outside of the workplace. I've talked to so many customers who see automation as something that makes their lives better. Like parents who can actually take their kids to swim practice after school because automation lets them finish their work in a decent amount of time. Or the golfer who never needs to feel guilty about hitting the course on the weekend because they know that work's been handled.
Absolutely, it's so true. And we're going to hear directly from some of our customers like United Airlines and Discover, who will share their stories about how Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform is helping them make better connections within their companies. It's always so incredible to hear from real-world stories firsthand from our customers. And live. I love the live Ansible chats.
Me too. They're a favorite.
But you know what else is amazing?
What's that, Walter?
New stuff.
New stuff? Like, new stuff. Like really new? Like stuff that we're talking about later new?
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about it now.
Now?
Yeah, why not?
All right, let's do it.
Our theme for Ansible Fest this year is automating with agility. So I would think it'd be really cool if we could co-host Ansible Fest with agility.
I'm all for agility, Walter, but you're gonna do the big reveal in just a few minutes. Are you sure you want to do it already?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, go for it, Walter. Let's hear it.
Well, as you might already be able to tell, I'm beyond excited to share today that September 29th, we are officially announcing Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform 2.
This is so awesome. So many teams have been working on this for so long. Awesome. So exciting. And what makes this announcement so exciting is that it delivers on what people from around the world have been asking for. We heard you loud and clear, and we've created a platform that goes well beyond an automation tool. Don't worry though, Walter is going to give you a lot more details and information on Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform 2 in just a moment. You'll also get to take a look at the new architecture in action with a demo by our lead architect, Matt Jones. And he'll be joined by some of our amazing Ansible engineers. But to give you a flavor of what to expect with Ansible Automation Platform 2, we want to share our vision for expanding what's possible for the enterprises of all types. Check it out. What a perfect kickoff to Ansible Fest. Now get comfortable and get ready because we have a lot to share.
Every year at Ansible Fest, we highlight new features and concepts that will help you make the most out of Ansible. This year, we're no longer talking about automation just as a command line tool, but more of as a concept. Before, Ansible Automation Platform was centralized and more monolithic, therefore not as scalable. We recognized a need to go from the command line to the enterprise, from tactical to more strategic automation. So we shifted the focus to automation for velocity, automation for collaboration, and automation for growth, to address business outcomes across teams. In other words, we want to provide a solution for everything that has business value, that runs everywhere in your business, and helps everyone craft and use automation. Not just speeding things up, but taking them in a strategic direction. A key part of this shift in our approach is focusing on what makes Ansible inclusive, the customization, the control for users and organizations, no matter where they are in their automation journeys. With Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform 2.1, the question we set out to answer is, what does this new architecture mean for people who are actually using Ansible in their organizations today? So we took the same pieces that support faster development and deployment, easier operations and analytics, and a consistent end-to-end user experience, and reimagined how they would fit together. For automation creators and authors, the Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform 2.1 introduces an execution environment builder and content navigator that will help you develop and test automation faster. And for our admins, scaling automation is key to realizing its fullest potential. To simplify deployment and scaling across platforms with container support, we've added in a new operator to Red Hat OpenShift to Ansible Automation Platform. Users now can take full advantage of self-service automation tools in the latest version of Ansible Automation Platform to focus less on the process and more on their actual roles. That's not just for developers, but other individual contributors and business staff as well. We deliberately made these changes to support capabilities across the different types of people who are interacting with automation, because Ansible is inclusive. Ansible technologies come from a community of people around the world, across industries, who use automation to solve big and small challenges. So as Ansible grows, we want to build not just for one role, but for automation that is easily created, shared, and managed across organizations and teams, in order to make it easier to transform your business and scale faster. Over the keynotes and demo sessions we've brought together from Red Hat and the automation community for this year's Ansible Fest, we'll share the details about how these new components work to help you get more value out of automation and Ansible at your organization. And let's not forget, we also have 2 full days of breakout sessions and live Q&As so that you can see how others are using Ansible to deliver on their business goals. But to get started, we have Matt Jones, Senior Principal Product Engineer for Ansible at Red Hat, who is going to give us a high-level demo of Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform 2.1.
Hello and welcome to Ansible Fest 2021 virtual event. We are really excited for you to be joining us here today. My name is Matthew Jones and I'm the Chief Architect of Ansible Engineering.
My name is Sean Cavenaugh and I do technical marketing for Ansible Automation Platform.
Joining us today is Michael McCarthy from Gamesys, who's been participating in our high touch program, which we'll talk about later. Hi Mike, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm the delivery architect at Gamesys. My team work with developers and operations, writing a lot of automation to make us faster, and a lot of that involves Ansible and Ansible Tower.
So today, what we want to do is cover some of the technology and architecture and changes that we have coming up for you later this year. We've been working on some things over the last year that we're really excited to share with you. The first thing that I want to cover are collections, Ansible collections. Now, we've had collections for a while. What we've been wanting to do is make these more visible and more useful. So you've been able to use these with community, with Ansible Tower for a year and a half now, but we want to integrate them more tightly into your automation workflow and make them feel more native. With the current version of Ansible, community collections are separate from the Ansible distribution. And so with Automation Hub and Private Automation Hub, we're giving you the ability to take content and collections from the community on Ansible Galaxy and collections, content like modules, playbooks, and roles that we produce within Ansible and that partners produce from Automation Hub and combine it with your own content that you host on Private Automation Hub as a centralized area to hold everything that is important and useful for you and your automation. And you bring these together to provide control and governance for your automation, allowing you to operate and use the content and collections that you need.
Speaking of Automation Hub, there's now over 100 certified collections, which means they're fully supported by your Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform subscription. And this includes all of the major partners that you know and love, including the major public cloud providers like Amazon, Google Cloud Platform, and Microsoft Azure, and also Cisco networking platforms, F5, and storage vendors like NetApp.
The next thing that we want to talk about are execution environments. Now, historically with Ansible Tower, you have had to manage the environment that Ansible runs in using virtual environments, virtual ENVs. This creates somewhat of a problem in that you need to log into each of your execution nodes on Ansible Tower to manage the dependencies in the software and everything that goes into it, including multiple Ansible versions. This gets tricky as your environment scales and as the amount of execution you need to do scales. So this is where execution environments come in. We want to take those collections that we've talked about for a year and a half, combine those with the libraries and dependencies that collections have, and the version of Ansible core that you may need as part of the automation, layered on top of a universal base image. And this is a container image that represents the execution environment itself. You could take this execution environment container image and combine it with the developer tools that we've produced so that your automation developers can produce automation and content and playbooks to run your automation. They can build it and they can test it. They can promote it to production and run your production workloads and operational workloads through Automation Controller in the Ansible Automation Platform. And it's the same thing that was used to build the automation. These execution environments are used on the execution nodes themselves to run the jobs. That brings me to our next topic, which is the automation mesh. Now, currently, when you deploy Ansible Tower, you're deploying execution nodes alongside the web application itself. This limits the flexibility in where and how automation can run. And it also caps sort of at a scale level what you're capable of doing. The idea here is to make this more flexible, where you can deploy execution nodes anywhere you want to, near the cluster, away from the cluster, in other places. This is also a full replacement for isolated nodes and makes that execution plane, the separation of these two, much easier to manage and deal with.
So when we say run automation as close to the automation as you want, and Matt said we replace isolated nodes, is now we can scale up, scale out, and execute automation as close to what we're automating, the infrastructure and applications we need to automate, and put it wherever we want. This also kind of deprecates those isolated nodes. It has significant performance increase over isolated nodes, and it replaces complex jump host configurations and allows people to kind of configure their automation the way they want to do it. We can also deploy execution environments to every execution node. So it allows us that same flexibility from going from content creator to production, is now we can go from production to whatever we want to execute across our worldwide organization.
Earlier, we mentioned the High Touch program, and I said we have Michael McCarthy here from Gamesys with us. Now, Michael, you've been a longtime Ansible Tower customer, I know, and you've had a chance to sort of see where we're going and what we've been doing with Ansible Automation Platform, Ansible Automation Platform 2. What do you think about what we've been doing and the direction we've been going in?
I think it's great. It really aligns with the things we're thinking about Gamesys. Scalability, obviously, and we're starting to become more geographically distributed. So those two things are particularly important. We've been using virtual environments for quite a while, so we kind of know the concept of an isolated environment for running jobs. It works, but the more we've got into virtual environments, the further we've got away from being able to kind of run containerized, and that kind of has affected us in terms of scale. We can scale out, which is great, but that involves some spinning up new VMs. As everything moves to containers, the idea that we can just have a cluster and horizontally able to scale that and scale new nodes up for jobs in the cluster is great. So, I think there are changes we're definitely going to take on board. It's been great being on the program. Hopefully, we've given some valuable insight back into how we use Tower. We've got 4,000 odd templates in one of our environments, so we're quite a heavy user of Tower itself.
That's great. Yeah, I guess it's worth mentioning that we kind of forgot to, is that execution nodes and the automation mesh definitely allows you to onboard new execution nodes or take them away as your capacity demands increase or decrease. It makes that much more possible, managing those ephemeral environments with execution environments. I really appreciate it, Michael. That's very useful. Speaking of containerized execution, now we don't require container clustering platforms, but if you make use of OpenShift and other container clustering platforms, what we want to do is provide a native and first-class experience for you. So today, we're offering the Ansible Automation Platform as an installable operator from Operator Hub in OpenShift. This allows for a very easy and seamless deployment of the Ansible Automation Platform into your container clustering system. Makes it very easy to test and scale. It makes use of the container scheduler feature in OpenShift itself, meaning you're not having to provision and deprovision new nodes for execution. New pods are created and are ephemeral. So the automation platform will work with the OpenShift system to start workloads, create pods, run the jobs, and then shut down and remove the pods.
Okay, we're going to switch gears. We're going to be a little bit more silly here because we want to put this new technology into a practical demo and showcase all these new amazing features and that kind of path to production for our customers, taking automation from the creator stage all the way into production and then into automation mesh. So with that, we're going to be a little bit more silly. If anyone was at Fest 2019, we know this is Bananageddon. Our fictional company, the Banana Stand, has a modern web application providing bananas and banana paraphernalia deployed in all 7 continents. We do 2 billion banana deliveries monthly, and we're the #1 distributor of banana stands, banana powder, and organic bananas worldwide. And you can see our banana technology was showcased at Fest 2019, and we have those videos up on YouTube if you want to watch them. However, we're having a problem with our company. There is a ransomware virus going out, the Banana Worm 2021. This ransomware virus demands 100% of all our banana proceeds. Our creator, Colin, is not happy. We need to fix this banana worm as fast as possible, which means automation, and we need to mitigate all these servers. We thought this would be a good use case because compliance, mitigation techniques, and using automation is one of the best ways to quickly patch all of your infrastructure worldwide. So we're going to use Ansible Automation Platform to address this new problem that's going on with our application. So we have a plan of action. We're going to run through 3 deep dive demos: create, manage, and scale. Let's dive into each one of them. The first deep dive demo is going to be Colin McNaughton. Colin's going to show off Content Navigator, a VS Code plugin, and Execution Environment Builder. He's going to create, package, and deploy this to Private Automation Hub. For a second demo, we're going to have Roger Lopez operationalize the execution environment. We're going to sync Automation Controller with Private Automation Hub, grab that EE, and we're going to put it into production. And then we're going to measure success with insights for Ansible Automation Platform. Finally, Craig and Shane are going to scale out this mitigation automation worldwide and showcase how we can extend, scale, and then even failover automation with the technology automation mesh that Matt highlighted.
Bananageddon is a very serious thing. Can't take that lightly. So please join us for these additional deep dive main stage demos going through the tools and technologies that we've built and designed over the last year. Once again, thank you for attending Ansible Fest 2021 virtual event. We'll see you next time.
You know, Walter, I always love it when we get to make amazing announcements at Ansible Fest. I feel like we've heard about so many of these concepts at Ansible Fest and Red Hat Summit and all the things of collections and execution environments, but seeing them brought to life in the demo was pretty awesome.
Now you know why I couldn't wait to dive in and start talking about it.
I totally get it. And the good news is that we're really only just getting started. We have so much more to talk about and so many more people to hear from.
We certainly do, like Robyn Bergeron, who spends her days connecting with the Ansible community.
You know, it's hard to underestimate how important and how passionate the Ansible community really is. Do you want to take a guess at maybe how many contributors there are in the Ansible community?
You mean like globally?
Yes, globally. Take a wild guess.
All right, 500.
Walter, not even close.
No?
Okay, one more try. I'm gonna give you a hint, all right? If we look at the whole Ansible ecosystem, tell me how many people have raised a PR request for any of the repos.
Okay, all right. So let me see if I can figure this out here. So add 5, divide by 10, take away 7, and then add the 10 back. Okay, I got it. 10,056, give or take a few.
Wow, that was pretty spot on. Over 10,000 people have submitted a pull request for any of our Ansible repos.
Well, what can I say? You know I'm passionate about Ansible. Actually, What I can tell you is that you've heard enough from Katie and me for now. Let's dig into what's going on in the community. Here's Robyn Bergeron to discuss the topic, what is open source and why does it matter?
Hi, everyone. I'm Robyn Bergeron, and I'm the Senior Manager for the Ansible community team here at Red Hat. I'm actually one of the millions of people around the world who's part of an open source project community, not even just this one, much like a lot of you who are watching this right now. The concept and practice of open source has been around for a while now, but it's still growing and evolving in every industry around the world. People draw from open source for inspiration for their personal and their professional work. According to the Forrester Guide to Open Source Cloud Projects, open source software is now deeply entrenched in the enterprise innovation culture. The contributor archetype has shifted to that of a well-paid developer at Google or Red Hat rather than an underpaid free agent. And contributors come from all walks of life too. They might be looking to support the creation of something for their day job, or they might be interested in putting their skills to use to help others. But without open source projects, a lot of the best features of enterprise products wouldn't exist. The freedom to experiment, to collaborate across differences, or even work with competitors is unique to the open source way, and it leads to results that couldn't be achieved otherwise. Open source projects really succeed because contributors work together to, as Red Hat CIO and my buddy, Chris Wright says, democratize the power of technology through open standards at every level. That's why open source communities are behind some of the biggest technology leaps, like the shift from single-use tools to microservices and containers, or, the creation of the cloud-based internet as we know it. And with open source standards guiding our work, we can solve shared problems faster and better together. In the Ansible community, we're committed to the most important values that are the foundation of open source: transparency, collaboration, and trust. Transparency can come in many forms. It means code can be inspected by anyone to make it better for everyone. That's why open source software is perceived by many people as being more secure than proprietary solutions, according to research Red Hat has done. It's hard to hide something in code anyone can see, after all. For Ansible in particular, it means providing a technology with a simple setup process and a minimal learning curve with a human-friendly language to be as inclusive as possible for anybody who wants to participate. It also means making decisions for the community as a community. That's part of why we've recently established a community advisory board to help guide the strategic direction of Ansible, including incorporating best practices from OpenStack, Kubernetes, Linux, and other communities. We also started a newsletter called The Bullhorn. Get it? Ansible Bullhorn, that shares project deadlines, job postings, and more information to help keep all of our contributors informed. Transparency is particularly important when you're working with people in different regions, time zones, industries, you name it. A common saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to create really good software. If you've seen last year's State of the Octaverse report, GitHub said there were more than 56 million developers using their platform last year, and it's just one of a number of platforms for hosting open source projects. It's no small challenge to get all of those contributors and developers working together effectively. That's where a focus on supporting collaboration comes in. Open source communities aren't just people who are coming in, grabbing the software, saying, thank you, and taking it back to use themselves. Sure, there are some people who do that, but there are many, many more who stick around to make that software better, not just for them, but for everyone else. In the Ansible community, we have people who are working on the latest and greatest features, but we also have people who are working on streamlining processes to make things more consistent, right? For example, by automating as much as we can. Imagine that, the automation community automating things. The platforms, ecosystem, they're all ultimately propelled by the people who make that innovation happen, which is why it's so important to make it easy for those people to work together faster, which, by the way, is where automation comes in. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we couldn't talk about open source without discussing trust. Transparency is part of building trust, and trust is also needed to collaborate. Contributors need to be able to trust each other, that people are in there for the community's good, not just taking from the community, but also giving back. The community also needs to trust the advisory board or other decision makers are governing not just in their own best interest, but really in the community's best interest. That's where building formal community policies that are consistent across projects can help us balance who's creating what, who's making decisions, and who's benefiting from the output of the community's efforts. Working together as a community where transparency and trust support collaboration can lead to some unexpected insights. For example, when one of our community members and developers, Brad, found a better plugin for Visual Studio Code than what we had in Ansible existing at the time, he reached out to the creator, and we wound up merging the communities together and adding it to the code. It's really similar to how we incorporated Molecule, the development and test tool, and Lint, which gives you guidelines for patterns and behaviors while avoiding the common pitfalls that can easily lead to bugs or make code harder to maintain. With a community project, you hear directly from all of the people who are actually using and building your technology on a day-to-day basis about what can be better. And they often bring the solution to you. It's a helping themselves by helping you type of approach. Our shared purpose is pretty clear in the stories we share in our communities of practice, our interest groups, and our organizations, and in all the successes that we celebrate and the lessons we learn together. You heard earlier the amazing Walter and the amazing Katie mention that more than 10,000 people are now part of the Ansible community. As we say every year, we are all the community. It takes you, it takes all of us to ultimately make better software and, even as cheesy as it may sound, change the world faster. I'd like to thank you all for being here today. I wish that we could all be together. I really hope we can be together next year. But until then, I hope everybody has a really great Ansible Fest. Thanks.
Walter, it's your line. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Hey, Katie. So sorry about that. I was just sitting down there thinking about how long I've been part of the Ansible community and how amazing of a ride it's been to build something so fantastic together and all the cool innovation that's come out of it. I have to tell you, I feel truly blessed to be part of it. And I'm always inspired when I hear from Robyn.
I totally get it. Do you know what I was thinking about?
What's that?
All my favorite Ansible Fest memories.
Okay, all right. Please allow me to try to guess a few.
All right.
So was it the launch of network automation?
That was fun.
Or security automation?
Also fun.
Well, what about when we talked about the use cases beyond config management?
I love automation everywhere.
Okay. Another guess. The huge Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform announcement in 2019?
I loved that one. And a new logo. I love a new logo.
Okay. All right. Let me give another guess. What about the last year when we talked about Private Automation Hub? That was fun.
That was fun. And execution environments.
Absolutely. Oh, I think I got it. I got it. Okay. Was it the day that I told you that I was going to join the Red Hat team?
That was at Ansible Fest, wasn't it?
It sure was. Well, maybe that last one wasn't it, but this year's going to be a little bit different. Because even though we're not all together in one room, there are still opportunities to make memories together.
Exactly. And starting right now, in fact, you can choose your own Ansible Fest adventure. Join a breakout session or live Q&A and become a part of the conversation.
Or you can go and check out the virtual expo hall. This is your time to find out how Ansible Automation Platform 2 can help you accelerate, orchestrate, and innovate within your organization.
We will see you all soon.